Welcome to another episode of the Pulpit Show. A very funny episode, I think, but I'm not sure, but I think so. My guest today is a very well-known comedian. He's been on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. He's actually headlined a DVD series called Thou Shalt Laugh. Michael Jr., thanks for joining me today.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me. And you're going to go black on me.
Oh,
you
man.
check the camera. He's never done this with any other guest.
Well,
I guarantee it.
I think that he was you. I was ready for a normal handshake. But is there a Michael Sr.? I'm just curious.
There is a Michael Sr. Yeah.
And where is Michael Sr.?
He's back in Michigan. That's my dad. I love my dad, man. So I'm Michael Jr. and then it's easy to remember. So I went with Michael Jr. So.
Is it JR period or do you actually spell it out?
Yes, it's JR period. So if people are going to the website, then you want to do michaeljr.com, because if you go to one spelled out, it's a little boy selling vacuum cleaners, and we don't want it. I tried to get the site, but he wouldn't sell it. Sucks, man. Vacuum cleaner sucks.
I got it. Okay, well, Michael, it's great to have you here, and you are a very interesting comedian. Can I call you a comedian?
Sure, man.
Because you're out there playing clubs. You also play churches. I go to an award ceremony. You're there. You're like everywhere I go, you pop up.
Yeah. First of all, I'm not stalking you. Let me say that, because I get there first, and then you show up afterwards. You know what I do? I perform in August. I'll be at the Mirage in Las Vegas. This weekend, I'm performing at Faith Community Church, about 10,000 members.
You're in Vegas and in a church on different times.
Yeah.
Do you have to you change your act?
No, you know what? The material is always the exact same material. I actually, God gave me some comedy accountability. It's any comedy that I do at a casino or a club has to be clean enough that I could do it from a church pulpit. But the reverse of that is any comedy that I do from a church pulpit has to be funny enough that I could do it at a club or a casino. So it sort of works out both ways.
Have you always done that kind of mixed booking?
No, I just started doing churches maybe 7 years ago. I didn't even know I didn't know it was legal to laugh at church. I thought that stuff was against the rules, because I just got saved. Like, what was the requirement to do your show, right? So I got saved, and then it was like 7 years ago. But before that, I was doing comedy, but it was always clean comedy, because at the age of 7 was the first time I ever got exposed to church. But then at the age of 14, well, let me say at 7 years old, my grandmother used to force me to go to church. And I remember I remember being 7 and confused, because there was this guy up on stage and he was angry at everybody. He was mad and yelling and screaming. And I think he was mad because he had some phlegm caught in his throat, because at the end of every sentence, he would try to get it out. He'd be like, what you need to do, the Lord, I was like, wow, you need to gargle. So it was very confusing for me. And then by the age, so I stopped going to church. For about 13 years old, my grandmother gave me an option to go to church. I just stopped going altogether. And then around 14, I decided on my own to stop cursing. Now, you know, when you're 14 years old, you're a little boy, as soon as you leave the house, beep, 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 beep. All my friends were cursing. But me and one other guy decided we're going to just expand our vocabulary and not curse at all. But in retrospect, I can clearly see that was God setting me up to do what I do. Because it would have been so much harder to be a dirty comedian, then come to know God, and then try to clean it up. It would have been so much harder, but it's been clean all along. So.
Is it hard to be funny when you can't rely on the sort of bathroom humor or the dirty stuff?
I have no idea. I'm imagining it is hard, but I've never had to do that before. So, dirty jokes will come to me. God gives me jokes, then the devil be trying to give me. I'll be like, whoa, wait, that's not the Lord. That's not, no.
Can you just clean up the devil's stuff?
You know what? I thought you could, right? I tried, because some funny stuff showed up. I was like, "Ooh, God!" But that's funny, Lord. And then
you're like, no. Just give him to Chris Rock. Don't call me. That's what you said.
So I just simply decided, no, we're not going to do it. And every time I drop a joke off, like I had a joke that was a clean joke. I couldn't figure out anything nothing was dirty about it. It was a joke about a homeless person asked me for spare change. Oh no, they asked me for a spare quarter. And I look in my pocket, I was like, I got a Massachusetts quarter, I got a Michigan, I got a spare one. I thought it was hilarious when I did it on stage back in New York. God said, we're gonna drop that. And then a funnier joke shows up like shortly after that around the same realm. So now whenever I have something that's even questionable, if God is like, don't do the joke, I will not do it, and then funny or abundance, I got to just be willing to let it go.
So you think like God didn't want you to make fun of the homeless?
I don't know what it was, because I thought the joke was clean. I thought it was funny. I've done it at churches before. Everybody liked it. I can't explain it, but if I could, then I guess it's just about being obedient. Now, on the other hand, there's some jokes that people might say, well, God doesn't like that joke. But I already got clarity from the Lord saying it's cool, or I'm not feeling any conviction about it, and I'm Michael Jr. I'm going to do what I need to do and what's in line with what God is telling me.
You have these funny jokes that I really like, this series where you make fun of white people's fear of black people, and then you also make fun of excessively religious people. Where does that come from? How do these things come to your mind? Is it because of the people you're meeting, where you live, your friends, the neighborhood, your kids' little league? Where does this stuff come from?
Well, I think that, sometimes white people is a little scared of.
I didn't move.
I know you didn't move, which is cool because you got all the security around here. That's probably why. I don't know so much. I mean, some of that stuff is of course comedy, but at the same time, it's some real truth to people. Me being afraid. I used to be afraid of Christians. Like, first of all, I was afraid of them, but then after I became a Christian, I started thinking. My first thought was Christians are cowards, right? Why we always got to go on a retreat? That's one question right there. And then you have Christians who are cool. You can hang around with them. Iron sharpen iron relationships. You have Christians who they might have a little limp in their walk, so they're more needy, and you got the accountability. But then you have Christians who are just, and this is a phrase I made up, oversaved. You can't hang around with them. You can't just everything is just all the Lord. I mean, it's just it's creepy.
They're too religious.
Over religious.
Over-religious.
And then, and you can tell an over-religious person too. Like, this is how you can tell. Like, if you don't like messing with computers because it has a cursor, you probably oversaved. That's probably one of those. So those are, in my show, I give some indicators as to how you could know that you're oversaved. Because there's a lot of people out there that's oversaved. They don't even know it though. But, if I sit down with you for a minute, like if you have a fruit salad and you're about to, and you pray over your fruit salad before you eat it, but you pray for so long that by the time you eat it, it's trail mix, you probably oversaved. Man. So I talk about that, and then I just, whatever comes to mind. Not whatever comes to mind, but whatever really makes sense.
What about the black-white stuff? I noticed that you'll speak to a predominantly white audience, and you've got them laughing at themselves for their own maybe fear. Like there was one you talked about. You've got them making fun of themselves, basically. What are some examples of that, and how do you get to that?
I think one of the jokes you may be referring to is a joke I do where I talk about myself jogging. I was jogging down the street, and but that's actually a true story.
And this white woman, right?
Right. I'm on my way to my car, and I'm jogging because it's a little cold and a little dark outside, and then a white lady comes out in front of me who's a jogger, and now we're jogging in the same direction, and she looks back and she starts jogging faster. So I look back too. I'm like, what is back there? I don't get it. And then she takes off faster, and I'm running even faster, and I pass her up, and she falls down just like in the movies. I just hurt her over and take off. So, but that was actually a true story. That really took place. I mean, I put my comedy gifting on some of it, but that really took place, and it was really kind of cool how God just showed me. I mean, because that was really a traumatic situation for me, because this lady actually fell down, and I really wanted to stop and help her, but I couldn't because I knew there was a police station less than 2 blocks away. And her thinking that I was chasing her, if she would have hit the ground and cried and screamed out, the police would have showed up and there would have been no explaining. So I was really, really, truly hurt for maybe 4 or 5 months after this incident took place, because I knew I couldn't help her. I knew I had to just get to my car and leave, even though I wanted to help her, but I know what would have happened as a result. So it really, really hurt me a lot. And then fortunately, God just flipped the whole thing around and turned it into a comedy routine that millions of people have been able to enjoy. So it's really cool.
What is that like, though, on a serious note, to have to go through life second-guessing and questioning and anticipating the next move? What should I do? What should I not do? How could it be misinterpreted? That's got to be taxing on your mind.
You know what? I actually don't even think about that too much, because it's kind of like in the Bible where David was getting ready to battle the big dude, the big old giant, and then his soul, I think it was, whoever put all this armor on him and said, "This is what you're gonna need for the battle." So that's how it is for me. If I'm constantly thinking about what somebody else might think or what I need to do to be prepared for this or that, then that means I'm really not just trusting in God, much like David did. I don't even worry about all the armor and all the gear. I just go, and then whatever happens, happens, and God will work out the good for those that love Him. So I don't even trip. I just go, and then and sometimes it'll work to my advantage. Like I'll go to a club, maybe like 5 years ago. I remember going to a club in Detroit, and the owner of the club, the people who were there knew me, but the owner of the club didn't know me at all. And he said, "Listen," and all he saw was my appearance, and he said to me, "Listen, we're gonna need you to keep it a little clean, if you could. We can't really get into the, we don't like, it's not gonna go well with this audience." And I said to him, "Oh, okay, I'll see what I can do." And I went up there and did the regular set that I always do. And then the audience enjoyed the show a lot. And then he walked up to me afterwards. He's like, "Good job, way to keep it tight. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much." I was like, "Thanks, man. I tried my hardest, man. Appreciate it." So, but he really enjoyed the show much more than he would have if he would have already known I was clean, just because of his own prejudice. So it worked out to my advantage. I didn't have to do any preparation. I just went in there and did what I do. So.
Okay. We'll come back in just a minute with our guest, Michael Jr. on the Bully Pulpit Show. Stay tuned. And we're back on the Bully Pulpit Show, where our guests get to say whatever they want to say without being censored or interrupted.
Dude, you didn't even say that.
Well,
you got me
we got a couple segments left. Let's do it.
Yeah, for real. Let's turn this up, man. Please.
We're gonna turn this up.
We're gonna turn it up
with
for real.
Michael Jr., comedian and entertainer extraordinaire.
Let's turn it up. Let's do this. Can we pray first?
Can we call you Michael the Entertainer?
Nah, that's somebody else's last name.
Right,
That would be awkward.
Michael, tell me about your upbringing. Were you always funny first as a kid? And did you have kind of, a lot of comedians seems to have like family trauma and family dysfunction that for some reason makes them funny. Is that the case in your life?
You know what? My growing up was interesting, like any household, but I don't really pull too much from my childhood. I really just pull from whatever I see currently. Like I wasn't really a class clown in school. I said funny things, but I knew if I said whatever I said in class, it had to be funny enough to make the teacher laugh, because a laughing teacher doesn't send you to the principal's office. And if I go to the principal's office, then my dad is gonna put it down, and then you just don't want that. Or if my dad was at work because when parents, when they would whoop you, they always, they speak in sentences. Don't you ever. And my uncle sometimes got a chance to whoop us, and he stuttered, so it was really bad. So I wasn't a class clown. I was more of a environmental entertainer. That's what I refer to myself as. So I would know the environment before I said anything, because comedy is only really comedy is A, B, 3. That's what comedy is. You're thinking I'm gonna say C, I say 3, I flip it, I put something different on there. That's all comedy is. So I would assess an environment, and then I would flip my role in that environment, and it would show up as funny. But if there's too much funny going on in an environment, I'll just sit back and observe and watch what's going on and be like, okay, and then just take notes. So I'm not the wacky dude. That's not cool. I don't want to be wacky.
When did you think this might be a profession? When did you first get the idea?
You know what? I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait and see. One day when I got a text, No. I thought this was a good idea when I remember the first time I ever hit the stage. I was straight out of high school. We were at a movie theater, and my friend, a German exchange student, we're sitting at this movie theater, and the theater goes blank right in the middle of the film. And they turn the house lights on, and everything's blank. And then my friend looks at me, and he says, a German exchange student, he says, "I dare you go tell a joke." It's the best German I got. Whatever. Anyway,
that's pretty bad.
I know, that was bad, right? But it was black German, so you don't even know, do you? There you go. Anyways, and then I went up here and I told this joke, and it was a dirty joke, but I'd already cleaned it up in my mind. I was literally cleaning the joke up as I walked up to the stage because it was a dirty joke that I heard. And I went up there and I told this joke, and all these people laughed, and I felt a high for the first time in my life. I've never done any drugs. I've never smoked any alcohol or beaten
Smoked
on the
any alcohol?
Yeah, so you
Wow.
know I've never done that.
Man.
I've never done any of that stuff, man. So I go up here and I feel this high, and I'm like, wow. And all these people laugh, and then the security comes running down. I go sit back down. Security comes running down to kick me out. They're looking for me. And this white lady, who I don't even know, she stood up and she said, if you kick that young man out, I want my money back. It's like, wow. And then these biker dudes with long hair and tattoos, they stood up too. They said, you kick them out, we want our money back. And then some black people stood up. I was like, man. And
But they were last of the group.
yeah, thanks for pointing that out, man. Anyway, just because I gave them a little part of me, they gave me all this love in return, and it was really big for me. I mean, and in retrospect, I can clearly see that was God saying, listen, I had something for you to do. I mean, at that moment, I didn't know it, but then shortly after, I was like, you know what, this comedy thing is really cool. So I went to a comedy club, and I saw a guy eating it. He was doing really bad, but he was funny. I could see how his stuff could be funny if there were more people in the audience, but there were 7 people there, so it was really awkward. But then from that point on, I was like, this is very interesting. I think I can do this. And now understanding purpose and why God made me, now I'm just right in line. Now I know what I'm supposed to do. And knowing your purpose is like tremendous. It's like way good, like really good. Because then you just wake up, you beat the alarm clock. You're like, okay, I'm ready to go. It's really cool.
Now, I had Jay Leno was in this program one time, and I was really struck by the fact that he was very serious. Like I was expecting him to cut up and be funny and joke,
Right.
but it was almost like it kind of dawned on me like that's his job, and he comes home and maybe he's kind of a serious guy. Are you like that when you come home? Are you like, okay, I did my job for the day, now I want to be the real me, and are you more serious in your downtime?
You know what? I think I'm the same throughout, but I just talk about funny topics when I'm on stage because it's not like a. Yes, I do notice that sometimes some comedians you'll be with them, and as soon as the camera on, they're like, "Hey, so yeah," I'm like, "Whoa, dude, who are you?" That stuff is a little scary to me, but some of them do really well at that, and I'm just really looking to have a conversation with my audience. And then if something funny happens, that's a bonus. But let's just make the conversation interesting enough so that'll keep you sustained until something funny happens, and that could happen. You know, it could be 20 minutes. No, it wouldn't be 20.
So you're not like depressed at home or anything like that. You're not like.
Now I got 4 wonderful
Switch
kids,
gears.
a wonderful wife. I'm very excited at home. I coach basketball, I coach football. I love being at home, man.
And what's a typical, if there is a typical week, what's a typical week like for you? How many days are you on the road? Where are you going? Are you in town? Are you flying places?
I would say a month. I'm probably out on the road maybe 6 days a month. Again, I got 4 kids, so I purpose to be home. I'm really blessed to the point where I don't have to be out every single weekend. If my kids have something going on, there's a game, playoffs, I can be there. And I think I missed 1 football game this year, which was really cool. So I can purposely stay at home because the kids, my family comes first, and then comes funny. And plus, they write a lot of jokes for me, so I'm sitting there watching them. This stuff's hilarious.
Do they get royalties from their material?
Yeah, it's called cereal and milk, and it comes in that form.
College fund.
College fund. Yes.
And you have a kind of a blended family. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I don't really talk too much about the details of my family on the show. So you can have fun editing that part. So.
But you have 4 kids, and their ages?
I have 4 kids. They're, you know what? I have to call them and check their ages. They're actually right now they're 9, 10, 11, and 15.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, kids are amazing, man. In fact, they're inspiration behind the book that I wrote.
Tell me about the book.
I'll tell you about the book. I wish I had a copy of it. Maybe we'll do it on the 3rd segment. That'll be easier. Then I can just go like, oh, well, I'll tell you. Bling.
We can edit it in.
Oh, that's right. You can. Cool. Oh, okay. Well,
About that book.
I just thought I'd give them a cut spot. Anyway, the book is called. Well, I'm like mad creative. God just gives me creativity, especially like during worship at church. A lot of people think that if I'm at church and they see me worshiping, and then all of a sudden I stop and start taking notes or putting something on my phone, they're like, he don't love the Lord. No, I do. God just gave me a very creative idea. Now I'm writing it down before I forget it because I'm trying to make you happy. So I always make it a point to write the stuff down. But the book, it started out as a joke, as in something I would do on stage. But like anything that I do, all I do is put down my gift. All I do is put down the funny, and the message shows up. I never, ever, ever try to shove a message into some comedy. Just don't do it. From the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. So I don't have to. So I wrote this book, and I'll tell you to the extent of me, and then I'll show you where God just really shows up at. So the book is about a little girl named Gracie, who wants to go to a fun park called Junior Island. She wants to go to Junior Island, and her and her dad are on their way there, and the car breaks down, right? And we were gonna name her Brittany, by the way, but Brittany, somebody was tripping, so we changed the
How
name.
about Miley?
Miley. No. Anyway, Gracie, she's on her way to the fun park with her dad, and the car breaks down. We turn the page and we see that the car parts aren't working anymore. Like, they're all complaining. The muffler's like, man, I'm exhausted. I do too much work around here. And then the starter's like, look, I ain't trying to start nothing, but I do more work than you. And then the battery's like, be quiet, I'm in charge. Then the voice of reason, then the spark plug is like, you don't know me, I'm from under the hood. So they're all complaining. The voice of reason is the radiator, trying to keep everybody cool, right? So all the parts are complaining. Now that's pretty much the extent of Michael Jr. in this book. Then, this is where the really creative part shows up. Then all of the parts try to do each other's job, but they can't, because we're all called to do something that no one else can do. So they try to do each other's job, but the car still won't start. And then they're sitting there and complaining, and radiator's still trying to talk to them and tell them what they should do. Now throughout the whole book, we refer to the dad as the dad. Then at the end of the book, we strategically change his name to the father, capital F, typo, I don't know. And it says, they hear the father speak. And the father says, why can't you do what I need you to do? I always take care of you. I keep you covered and protected. I never put you through more than you can stand. Why can't you just do what I need you to do? And the parts hear this and they realize, wow, we got to work together and we got to get to where we're supposed to go. And they all go where they're supposed to go, but now it could be too late because a tow truck pulls up in front of the car. If a tow truck pulls up, little Gracie won't be able to go to Junior Island. Will she get to Junior Island? I don't know, you're going to have to buy the book. So that's what the book is about, mainly. So I'm very excited about it. It's doing really, really well. I'm very, very excited. It's available on michaeljr.com too. I mean, that's where you can buy it for me to get the most proceeds out of it. So let's just be real about that now.
We'll come back in just a minute and talk more about Junior Island with our guest, Michael Jr. Stay tuned on the Bully Pulpit Show.
Where are you off to? Such a hurry, girl. There's something chasing you. What has you spinning round in circles, little girl? Is it the world or is it you? There's no use trying to stop this. There's no use trying to make it go away. Before you disappear, just give it time.
Welcome back to the Bully Pulpit Show, and my guest is Michael Jr., who is telling me and us about your book. So this book is available on the website.
It is. The book is available on the website, michaeljr.com. That's michaeljr.com. Oh, you put it on the bottom of the screen. Cool. It's michaeljr.com. And also my CD. Now, again, whenever I do anything I do, I just put it down and then God shows up. So the CD is called Funny for a Reason. It's 14 tracks of the same comedy I've done on this nice show with Jay Leno, Comedy Central, Jimmy Kimmel. Same comedy, but then the 14th track is called The Reason. Now, whenever you mix teaching with comedy, people retain more information. What better information to retain than the truth about what God has done for us? So the 14th track is a 3-minute salvation prompting message. So you buy the CD, you give it to a friend, they laugh, they listen, you're like, welcome to the kingdom. So it's just really a cool gift.
Now, I just get the real sense that, you seem like, the old saying that God is my co-pilot or whatever. It seems like you and God you're like a team, and it's like he's your manager almost, and you're listening to him like you would take guidance from a manager almost.
No,
How did you come to that place where you're like a team?
Well, I'm trying. Well, we're a team, but he's more like the coach, of course, and he's coaching me, and I'm trying to listen as much as I can, but sometimes, you got other voices that say do different things, or your own, or just like some NBA players, they're like, Coach, I got this, and sometimes you think but then you end up limping back like, my bad, you're right, I should have put on a brace or whatever. So I'm not there by any degree, but I do completely understand that everything that I have and everything that I will have, I can't get it without listening to that coach.
We have another guest coming on shortly who is an atheist, moved from believing in God to not. Is there any chance that this
Let me just point out that you put a big comma in between atheist and from moving, because you just said, we have another guest coming on who's an atheist. He's moving in from God. And I was like, oh, snap, what's going on right now? You trying to, I didn't know your comma, it was just a big comma. And then we went to, but go ahead.
Well, you really analyze everything. You got to be careful. Is there any chance that this could be a figment of your imagination, that God doesn't exist and that this is you, this is your creativity, and this is your voice?
Let me think about that. No, absolutely not. Because I'm not clever enough. I'm not smart enough. There's absolutely no way I could do anything that I do without God. I've been through way, way too much. So it's completely and entirely, unquestionably, undoubtedly God, doing exceedingly and abundantly over and above all that I could ever ask or think.
But it's not like he's dropping ideas into your brain, or is it? Or is it like a collaborative effort?
I wish I could tell you that I knew exactly how God works, but I don't. But I know when I hear his voice, or I know when, some people would just refer to it as, this is another name for God. They got a lot of names for God and Jesus: Jehovah Jireh, Alpha, Nisi, Omega, the beginning, the end, and
It's a lot of nicknames.
A lot of nicknames. But another name that God has is something.
Something.
Something. Something. And I'm gonna prove it to you, right? We all have options in our life. We could choose A or we could choose B. A is the right thing to do. B is fun, right? A lot of times we'll choose B, and then we got to deal with the consequences. And while we're going through those consequences, the first thing you say is, man, something told me to pick A. Well, that something is clearly God trying to direct you, but if you don't listen, this is what it is. God is like a navigational device in your car. If you got a navigation device,
one of those,
you just got one. Cool. You've had one for
Like
8
it's always, I go too far, and it
Right.
says, redirecting.
Right, so it's exactly like that. If you punch in the coordinates and it says go 10 blocks and turn left, and you go 10 blocks and turn right, well, it doesn't abandon what you're supposed to do. It just recalculates what you need to do to get to where you're supposed to be based upon where you are. But if we don't listen and we keep making the wrong turns, the road conditions are going to be different, and we'll run out of time. So it's best to listen to that voice. You don't have to, but it's best to listen to that voice, because that's the voice that made you, and it's going to work out the good in all things for you.
So you're saying if I make a bad choice or a wrong choice in my life, eventually this GPS system will get me back to where I should have been, but it'll be a bumpier road maybe.
No, if you listen to the GPS, it'll get you back to where you're supposed to be. But while you're making these wrong turns, the road's going to be bumpy. It's going to seem a lot longer. It's going to seem a lot rougher. That's not to say that some of the roads you're supposed to take aren't going to be rougher, because you might have to go through that in order to have the strength to handle what's going to be one of those obstacles to get to where you're supposed to go.
I once saw Michael Jackson describe how he write songs, and he had this notion that there are songs kind of floating in the ether in the sky, and he kind of plucks them out, and it becomes, bad, or man in the mirror or whatever. Beat it, right.
Beat it.
But you don't believe in that notion, because it doesn't seem terribly creative. It seems like anybody could pluck these things out. So how do you see that? Are there comedy skits floating in the sky and then you pull them down from God, or do you co-create them, or what do you think?
Well, let me say, this conversation is getting really creepy. I don't know if there's some songs
Just look up.
floating
See 'em.
around. I mean, maybe to a degree. I mean, let's take into context that you started this out by saying Michael Jackson. Okay. And then, so that right there gives us an element of
I'm
fairy
throwing
tale.
material at you.
Fairy
Come on.
tale. I love some of Michael Jackson's songs. Man, remember Michael
Off the
Jackson?
Wall.
Oh man, off the
was
wall. I
the
do a
era.
joke whenever I'm at a comedy club and there's a brick wall. I'll stand up against it and I'll do a little pose and I'll be like, "It's Michael Jr. off the wall." 'Cause
If he just could have kept making albums like Off the Wall, don't you think that would
no, right up to the no.
Yeah.
If you could have still had the big nostril, everything with the big nostrils, the songs was nice. But then when the nostrils as they got smaller, I kind of lost it or whatever. So I think that has something to do. Plus, Maybe that's
So you think
what it
the
is.
whiter he got, the less the music became interesting?
Well,
Is
that's
that
what
you're
saying. So I'm thinking that if the music is in the air, maybe the perfect song he could, because if there's a lot of songs out there for Michael, and this is his analogy, maybe he was only able to see a certain amount of the songs because his nostrils were larger. But when his nostrils got smaller, there was more songs available, and he started picking the wrong ones. Maybe that was, just made that up. I love Michael Jackson. Let me say that. I love Michael Jackson, like for real. Like, that's my man. Right there. I really like Michael Jackson, for real. He's a cool cat. Cool. Can I have one of these? Cool.
Did you answer my question, though? I don't think I got it answered. You know, in terms of the creative process, are you co-creating? Are you plucking out of the air? Are you making it up? Is it God? Is it you? Is it both?
You know what? I believe it's...
Because I've heard kind of both today. You've given examples of both.
Yeah, I don't know well, I'll come up with... I mean, I'm putting in the work. God gave me the gift, and then I just got to put in the work. He gave me the gift of, and I don't think it's solely a gift of comedy. I think it's really a gift of looking at things from a different perspective. So I'll look at all sorts of stuff in ways that no one ever probably thought of looking at them before. And it's the same things that other people have seen, but because I'm looking at it so different, and comedy is just one of the platforms that this can be displayed at. But there's other, I mean, like there's the book, and then there's I'm gonna say this on camera. I just wrote a song, and listen, this song doesn't have any lyrics yet. It doesn't have a hook. All it has is let me say this. The song it's a worship song. It's a sermon illustration, and it's a sermon, and it's a song. I just wrote this during worship on Sunday. I just came up with the concept, and I gave it to a predominant songwriter, and he's gonna make a tremendous piece out of it.
Author, comedian, and now singer-songwriter.
And I'm not singing
Songwriter.
at all, and I don't know if I'm really a song. I just came up with the structure of what would be a phenomenal song, tremendous, and I gave it to this guy who just won 2 Grammys, by the way. And at first he was like, "Michael, you do jokes. Why you bring me a song?" Then I told him the concept, and he was like, "That is genius." And now he's gonna take it, and we'll all hear about it. It'll be huge, 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 huge. And you're hearing about it first on your show, even though it doesn't have a title yet.
Thanks for the exclusive. We'll come back in just a minute and talk about Thou Shalt Laugh and other projects you have going on in just a minute. Stay tuned on the Bully Pulpit Show. And we're back for one last segment with Michael Jr., comedian, author, and now songwriter. So, Michael, Thou Shalt Laugh came out from Warner Brothers. I was actually there for the taping that night.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you
was
were. You didn't laugh the whole time.
I laughed like crazy, but really it was just you and another guy. I didn't think everybody was funny that night. But tell me about that. What was that experience like? And I think it sold gazillion copies, so you're out there in people's living rooms.
Yeah, I think Thou Shalt Laugh did really well for, just because the whole thing is Christians need to laugh, but people need to know that Christians laugh too. Because, and I think Thou Shalt Laugh offered that. Very funny comedians. Yeah, Gilbert Esquivel was hilarious. You had Thor Ramsey and Taylor Mason, and this is a lot of funny people on the, and it was just a really good time. It took place at my church, Faith Community Church, and it was great. It was a cool experience.
And Patricia Heaton from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Heaton
was the host.
Patricia Heaton from Everybody Loves Raymond hosted it, and she's really a nice person. It was really fun, man, just to get together and show people that you can laugh without being dirty as a group. Then afterwards, we all went back there and we got high and stuff. But that's comedy, though. You know that, right? Can you put the word joke up there in case people?
No, we can't do that. A serious question then. Did you grow up in the black? You grew up in the black church, sort of. Your grandmother would take you to church, I guess.
You know, I went to church for you said the black church like it was just one. You grew up in the black church?
A black church within the black church.
When I was 7, my grandmother used to force me to go to church, and it was in a black community. And I went there for like a year and a half, and that's all I saw. And then after I left there, I was like, I'm not going back to church ever again. Because one time I went to church, I'm 7, there's a dead body in the front. Everybody's screaming and yelling. I don't know this is a funeral. Nobody explained to me.
It's a place where people die.
Right.
That's what you're thinking.
So the next time I go to church, I'm thinking, man, is it going to be dead body day again? And the dude is up there yelling and screaming and angry and all. I'm like, man, this is miserable. And then when my grandmother finally asked me if I wanted to go to church, instead of forcing me to go, I was like, let me think about it. Dead bodies, my shoes are too tight. No, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. And I decided not to go. And then after I became a grown man and I moved to New York, somebody invited me to go to the Christian Culture Center, Brooklyn, New York, Pastor A.R. Bernard. And this guy was up there talking about Jesus. He's not screaming, he's not yelling, he don't got no perm. He was just talking, man. It was amazing. And then he did an altar call. And I wanted to go up during the altar, but I was like, I don't know. I got to read the pamphlet first. So I told myself I'd read the whole Bible before I went to the altar call. So I would go to church and I read the Bible. Like I read the whole Bible. The Bible that I was reading was made in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Me too. I was tripping off that. And then I'm reading the whole Bible. I read the little giblets at the bottom that tell you about the stuff at the top. I read the whole, got to the part about the job. Stuff was extremely confusing. What kind of job is this? And I keep reading, and then I get to the part of Matthew. 27 years old at this point. 27, get to the part of Matthew where it says, Jesus died for me. I didn't even know. I didn't even know Jesus until I read it. I had no idea until I was 27 years old that Jesus died for me. And until I was like, wow, he died? Then I turned to Mark, and he died again. I was like, when is they going to learn? And Luke and John, I'm like, when are they going to learn? What are they?
Stop killing the
what
same
are they
guy.
doing? And then I read in Matthew, I get all scared, start reading fast. Revelations, I get scared, read fast. And then that Sunday, after I finally finished reading the Bible, I run up to the altar doing the announcements. I was like, is Jesus here now? Or do we only come at the end? Or how does this work? And things are really clear now. I mean, much more clearer. Before I thought I was just funny. Now I understand I'm funny for a reason.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the church because it seems to me a lot of R&B singers, maybe even hip-hop singers, get their start singing in the church. But is there a comedy? I mean, does the church produce comedians in the same way? Do you have a chance in church as a young person to get those skills honed?
You know, there's a lot of comedians who, of course, grew up in the church. And a lot of times what happens is, as you become a comedian, you start to talk about the church as in a negative way sometimes, but then there's ways to talk of the church. Like I'll talk about the Bible a lot, and I make sure everything transfers. Like I talk about the fact that Jesus had a little brother. His name was James. How much pressure was that, right? Jesus, your big brother. And you know, little brothers follow their big brother everywhere. So if Jesus went there, so did James. So I bet one time James almost drowned. Right, because Jesus walked on water, and James, and so I'll talk about stuff that really goes on, and I try to bring some light to going to church, as opposed to bringing light to the church. Because my mission statement is to reveal the fun of a relationship through Jesus Christ. Just the fun. I mean, that's it. It's not really that complex, but let people know that this is fun. This is really, really cool. It's a lot of fun. Now, there's some churches out there that's not going to be fun at all. I did one not too long, and it was not. They just sitting there, and then it's just the worst. But there's a lot of churches out there that are really, really cool, and it's really about a relationship anyway. So that's what I do. Did I answer your question at all?
Yeah. But why do you think religious people or devout Christians tend to be so serious? Or do they? Is that a fair accusation?
You know what? Some are, like I said, oversaved, way too serious. They think God doesn't want them to have any fun. There's verses in the Bible they skipped over, like Proverbs 17:22 that says a merry heart is good like a medicine. Well, if you're sick, you need some medicine, and God just told you the medicine was to laugh, but you can't laugh because you're too depressed about whatever. I mean, God wants us to laugh, and the reason they're so serious is I think it's from just generations and generations of people misunderstanding a relationship with God. How God really wants us to have joy and enjoy life, and then represent Him at the same time.
Where do you see God's humor in the Bible? Do you see his humor either in specific cases or just in general in the way He did things?
I remember researching the Bible. I was reading what is that? Genesis 12 through 25. I wanted to learn about the blessings of Abraham, and the thing that blessed me the most about Abraham was for sure the abundance that he had, for sure, but it was the obedience too, because in one day, his name used to be Abram, and in one day God changed his name to Abraham, told him to go home and circumcise his entire household, even the servants. Then it said in one day, on verse 23, it says he went home that same day and did it. Now, I mean, that's awesome, but I don't know if I could have been a servant. I would have had a couple questions. I've been like, wait a minute, wait. You said you changed your name? Okay, that's cool. Changing to Abraham, that's a nice name. That's nice. What else did you say? What else was that? Wait. Put the flint rock down for a minute. I'm trying to talk to you. I mean, I would have really had some serious, they just did it like bang, right? And I mean, think about it. He said, circumcise the flesh of your foreskin. I would have been like, you sure he didn't say your skin? You sure you're not confused? So there's funny in the Bible. It's all about your perspective of it. And then as long as you continuously respect it and then just get a different perspective. I mean, it's all about where you're coming from when you look at it.
Well, it's not funny to the guys who have to have their surgery, though.
It's not funny at all. Especially there's some grown men that got to be circumcised these days. Like grown men talking about, hey, doc, I want to get circumcised. It's like, dude, just...
I'd be looking for the Underground Railroad right about then.
I'm like, yo, man, that's the Old Testament, cat. You need to read, man. God, what you doing, man? So so there's a lot of funny in the Bible. There's funny at church, a lot of funny at church, because then there's people involved, but there's funny in the Bible too.
So what's ahead for you? What do you want to do that you haven't done so far in the next 10 years? What are you hoping to accomplish that you're on your horizon?
I'm making films now. I'll be in the films and I'll produce them. I'm working on a DVD right now, a solo release. I've never done my own solo release. It'll be the DVD will have the stand-up comedy on it, but it'll also have some elements of some films that I've shot, short films, and then there'll be an element of because my slogan for what I do is catch 'em with the comedy, keep 'em with the truth. So my DVD, my solo project, will have the comedy, but it will also have some truth in it too. So we're gonna get involved with the Dream Center in downtown Los Angeles and show the people. We're gonna make them laugh, and then we're gonna show them some truth too. So
TV, sitcoms.
I'm not that excited about the sitcom stuff at all. Television, if it's right. Someone else's movies, if it's right, if it makes sense, for sure. I have a lot of love in Hollywood with some really cool people who are very interested in me being involved with their projects. But I also have the luxury, praise God, that I get to choose what I want to be involved with. So it's not like I gotta have this, or I really want to have this, or this is how I'm going to eat. Where I'm to the point where I can just really say, okay, this makes sense. I can pray on it. God's like, do it, and then I'll just do it. And even if it doesn't look right to anybody else, if God is saying do it, I'll do the thing, even if it doesn't make sense to me. Because then at the end, stuff makes sense, and I'll be like, wow, I never even looked at it that way. So I'm very excited about some movies and some really cool stuff going on.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh, thank you very much, man. Cool. Thanks for having black chairs too, man. That's kind of cool.
And thank you guys for joining us on the Bully Pulpit Show. Hopefully it was a funny episode for you all as it was for me. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned, and we'll see you then.